After a 4-year hiatus, the Eddsworld team finally delivered a new animation to our subscription feeds. And it's a great cartoon. The animation is absolutely gorgeous, it had me laughing all the way through, and I really think the team did a great job with this one. A sentiment that was shared by basically everybody in the fan base. It is honestly incredible to me that even after all this time, there were so many people who were so excited to see the return of what many regard to be the greatest web show of all time. And that got me thinking, why do people connect with Eddsworld so much even in 2020? And the answer I eventually settled on was the characters. There is a reason that so much new fan art is created every single day. Yes, even that type of fan art. It's because people do genuinely love and connect with the characters. There is of course a mountain of other reasons that Eddsworld is so beloved, but I believe that the true genius of this show lies in the characters at the forefront. When Ed Gould created Eddsworld in 2004-ish, he chose to model his characters off of him and the friends he'd met in school and online, and he needed a way to illustrate each one uniquely. Here's a little secret. Animating stuff is hard. So if you want to make cartoons by yourself, you need to have characters that are simple enough to be drawn repeatedly in Adobe Flash, yet distinct and expressive enough to be distinguishable even on a 240p display. And from the very first episode, he settled on these ones. 4 characters, named after him and his friends, Ed, Matt, Tom, Tord. Conveniently enough, all one-syllable names, easy to say and easy to type. If they were called Edward, Matthew, Thomas and Tordisius Maximus XVIII, part of me thinks they wouldn't be so easy to remember or discuss. But back to their designs. One of the signature aspects of this show is that each character wears a unique, colourful hoodie, a super simple and ingenious way of distinguishing them from one another. Unless you're colourblind. Give them all the same colour hoodie and yeah, they've still got personality, but they are now much less distinguishable and way less interesting. Colour-coded hoodies are a fantastic shortcut to distinguishability without adding unnecessarily complications that don't add anything. Favourite colour, that is all you need. This isn't to say that each character's costume doesn't say something about them. Tom wears checkerboard patterned shoes to symbolise the voice actor's love of ska music. Matt has an I Love Matt t-shirt to symbolise his own vanity. Ed wears a Smeghead t-shirt to symbolise his love of sci-fi and so on. But when Eddsworld was in its earliest stages, colour was a great way to distinguish characters without spending too much time drawing intricate details. This aspect is so integral to the show that when they made a theme song, they used the colour of the hoodie as a way to introduce each character, because that's always the first thing you notice when you see them together.
Ed, green hoodie, Tom, blue hoodie, and Matt, purple hoodie, also green overcoat. No one likes him.
Conveniently enough, a character that's easy to draw also makes them perfect for people who want to create fan art. Because no matter how bad of an artist you are, you can draw these characters and be able to distinguish them. Okay, I got some coloured pens here, and to prove a point, I'm going to draw all of them upside down. Okay, hang on a sec. Huh? I don't know if you can tell who this is. Sure. I want to see what this looks like now, but I'm trying not to turn my head. Yeah, those are feet, sure. You see, I'm already running out of ink in this pen. Yeah, sure. See, even the pen wants to give up on me. There's like no ink in here. See, this one I have no idea how to even draw the right way up. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm gonna be using this brown pen now because, yeah, that's much better. Oh, I forgot to give him a... Oh, right, okay. Yay! Though the bodies are basically identical, no one facial feature is carried over between each one. Different hairstyle with different hair colours, different face shapes and facial structures, even the eyes have variation. Tom's eyes are completely black, but it never comes across as weird or creepy. And after a while, it just becomes normal, like how the Simpsons are all yellow. This has to be one of my favourite character quirks in animation. It's so simple, yet so unique, that it's surprising that it isn't done more elsewhere. Shape is another super important feature when it comes to character design, and it's been discussed by people who are way more qualified than I am to talk about it. In truth, the designs here aren't that deep when it comes to Eddsworld. They started in a 15-year-old's notebook after all, but each character does have an easy to distinguish silhouette. So even without any colour, you can tell who is who. Look, I don't know how intentional these choices were. Though changes were made over the years, like giving Matt a purple hoodie rather than the basic black one he was originally wearing, none of the designs are particularly different to how they were drawn in a teenager's notebook, to symbolise each of his friends. But I think that's what makes them so good. The slightly crude illustrations of a boy and his friends brought to life conjures images of childhood, when you and your friends maybe imagined going on adventures of your own. And even as the animation became progressively better looking, more professional and more expensive, the designs remained basically unchanged and frankly look just as good today as they did in 2003. But interesting designs would be nothing without interesting personalities. And yeah, this show has that as well. As you very may well know, each of the boys was initially based off the people who voiced them. But over time, their personality traits became more pronounced and separate from the people voicing them, and their characterization grew much stronger as a result. Ed's voice actor likes making jokes, drinking cola, and drawing things. So Ed's character makes puns, drinks cola, and draws things. Ed comes across as a very cool guy, generally laid back and happy to do his own thing, but the moment things get tricky, he'll rise to the occasion and be the first on his feet to do something about it, making him a very natural leader. Matt is very malleable to the story being told. He can be smart and cunning and witty, but he can also be a bit dim-witted. His voice sounds sophisticated and well-spoken, but he can also sound a bit whiny and childish. He's defined a lot by his narcissism and stupidity, but it never becomes annoying, a very difficult balance to find with a character like that. Tom's role changes a little bit throughout the series. At first he was a bit of a punching bag, and most of the jokes would land on him and his quirkiness. He was either the one saying and doing silly things, or he was the slapstick.
Holy ha!
Over time, he became more cynical and filled in the straight man role that Ed initially took on in the earlier seasons. He did, however, remain very absurd and ridiculous, something also mirrored in the comedic styles of his voice actor. Todd's character... yeah, I got nothing. So what does all of this mean? It means that they all work as a group, and no one person has to be the main character. But any one of them can be a main character. Older episodes tend to have the plot of thing happens, everyone does stuff, and then it's over. There were usually characters who had more importance than others, but there was rarely ever one single point of view character. A structure that lends itself very well to characters like this. When the show shifted towards more narrative heavy episodes, we started seeing more spotlight episodes. Ed could be a cowboy, or he could be a superhero. Matt could go on a date, or he could go on an adventure inside his own fridge. Tom could shoot this thing and that thing and do this and that. But at the same time, all three of them could go to space, play in the snow, run from zombies. These characters are endearing enough that you want to spend time with them, but simple enough that they work in any number of stories. And that is the key here. Simplicity. This is why everyone loves Eddsworld, the show's beautiful simplicity. And simple in this instance does not mean bad in any way, quite the opposite. Everything about these characters, from their designs, to their costume, to their personality, is simple enough and likable enough that they can be thrown into almost any situation and make it into a fun time. And that's also why it's so common to see fans create their own stories out of these characters, for better or for worse. When these are your starting points, you have the freedom to go basically anywhere you want, and as a result, we've seen stories that are way more interesting and drawings which are way more detailed than the show ever put out. Again, for better or for worse. And that is why so many people connect with these characters. That is why people love this show in 2020, and that is why Eddsworld's character design is secretly genius.